Two men return with a new set of monsters, a new world of horrors set to unfold. It's time to get universal in Monsters vs. Men.
It's time, Eric.
Indeed.
Goodbye, Godzilla. I don't ever want to talk about you ever again. Just kidding.
Yeah, that's exactly the message we want to put out there, Alex. Welcome into Monsters vs. Men 2.0. This is still the bargain basement of monster podcasting airwaves, small monsters and giant monsters alike, Alex. I'm Eric.
And I'm Alex, who has a new fondness for small monsters.
A new fondness for the small monsters among us. And this is just our opportunity to relaunch the podcast, Monsters vs. Men 2.0, and kind of explain to you all what we're doing with this new format, this new podcast. Just a little teaser as we release our first episode next week. So, Alex, the first question I want to ask, I want to get your reaction, is why a relaunch? Like, why are we changing things up at this point in time?
I think we were both wanting to shift our focus maybe to some, maybe even more lesser seen movies for our era than the Godzilla movies, which while they have their fans, they are relatively, I would say, even more wider known. Yeah, so I think we're just wanting to focus on something a little different, something a little older. You know, Eric's a big cinephile. I think he kind of wants to visit an era of history in terms of filmmaking that we haven't often seen, and he probably hasn't spent a whole lot of time with. And I'm kind of the same way. You know, these are characters that are very beloved to modern fiction, and very few people really go all the way back to the beginning with where a lot of the inspiration of these characters began. Like, yes, they came from books and stuff like that, but how we perceive them came from these movies.
Yeah. I think this relaunch gives us avenues to explore a lot of different genre movies, Alex, because we are kind of a genre movie podcast, right? We appreciate the giant monsters, and we're not getting rid of the giant monsters, which we'll talk about in a second. That's still a major part of our show and something that I think we'll always love to cover. Like, we love giant monsters, we love kaiju, we love Godzilla, but we've covered Godzilla, Gamera, King Kong, all the films. We've covered a bunch of other giant monster films. So we just want to try something new, different and new, and really expose ourselves to more in the horror genre in particular.
But what is going to be different, Eric? What's going to be different with this one?
Besides the movies, I think we're changing a few things up. You might see a new theme song. You might see a new logo. You see a slightly different look for Monsters vs. Men. And you'll also see our format change a little bit. Maybe there's going to be a couple different awards. We'll have some unique awards for our films. We'll also do a little bit of chat at the beginning of each episode. Sometimes it might be giant monster related, but it'll be a little bit more like our Ask Us Anything episodes, except we'll be together and just chatting about, whatever is asked or whatever's the topic of the week. So that will be different, but at the heart, we'll still do rhymes. We'll still be our silly selves, and we'll still offer our reviews of these movies because we are a movie review podcast. So I think we'll see some things that are different. I think you'll see the heart that remains the same. And overall, we hope to deliver a podcast that you still enjoy listening to. Even if you don't watch every single movie alongside of us, I think you can still enjoy aspects of these movies and aspects of our show, even just the first 5-10 minutes of each episode. So I'd encourage you, if you can, watch these movies alongside us. We are watching the Universal Monster box set. There's 30 films in this box set that Alex and I have got. We're going to go through each and every one of those films, but we'll probably break that up along the way. Are there any series and any movies that we're going to cover this year beyond the Universal Monsters, Alex?
Well, there's a little movie that started by a little known director named Steven Spielberg. He
Mm,
started this series, and I heard it's continuing this year. I heard it's got dinosaurs, and so we
mm.
might take a little time off of some Universal monsters to
A
maybe
little
visit
detour.
Jurassic Park.
Mm. And I also know, Alex, that there is a big man
Oh,
movie being released this year. Some would call him big. I would call him ultra. Ultraman movie being released, Alex.
Okay. I think I could
So
maybe go to that.
yeah, we might cover that. So we aren't scrapping giant monsters. We'll still be covering new releases and probably honestly more new releases than we have in the past. We'll just also be covering especially old releases, starting with 1931's Dracula, and which is where we will start on Monday this upcoming week. We'll still release our shows on Monday, and we will have Dracula for you this first week of MVM 2.0. Just as a reminder, this isn't a history show, though. So if you are interested in the history of these films, there are other podcasts for you. This is a review show, and it's really just Alex and I having reactions to these movies as we watch them, most of them for the first time. So if you're looking for that history, you're not going to receive it unless it informs our review or our reaction in some way. So it might be scattered within, but it's not the main attraction because it is a review show.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. Like, this is a review show, and we're reviewing these movies with a modern lens. We will
Mm,
try to keep certain aspects of technology and that type of thing, and how some things age in mind. But at least for me, I'm going to have that in mind. But this is really a modern lens for me. How have these things aged? When we did King Kong, I was blown away by how phenomenally that film had aged.
yeah.
And I think that that's the mark of a true classic in a lot of ways. It's going to be interesting to see these old movies. I'm really thrilled about this series.
Yeah, we've recorded a couple episodes already, and we've enjoyed what we've watched so far and had some really great discussions for our first couple of episodes. If you can't wait a week, the episode is currently up over on our Patreon at MVM or at patreon.com/MVM pod. You can find that episode and all of our MVM Plus episodes over at patreon.com/MVM pod. But next week, Dracula, jump in, join us on this journey. And until then,
Try
try
to
to
stay